Right now we're standing on Franklin Avenue and we're painting a mural, a really big mural, a really beautiful mural. I grew up having a very clear sense of murals as something that anybody can do to denounce or to speak about what's going on in their community. You don't need an arts degree, you don't need a lot of training. Murals aren't about only pretty things, but actually are a tool of responding to what's going on in society.
I think public art can be really beneficial to communities by creating connection and pride and ownership in neighborhoods.
I think it's important to do murals for the community because it's the way to show them, give them a voice.
Some people go to art museums, but everybody drives down the street, so murals are about making the visual and the art public to everybody. Murals can be a force of gentrification and a force of, bringing in new communities and pushing out other ones and raising rent prices. So an explicit conversation we had is we wanted this mural to clearly state who this was for. This is for the people of Phillips. Phillips is so rich and so complex with so many different people from all over the world. There's such a large Native population and such a large immigrant population too.
My mom always says it represents what's happening in the world. Crack epidemic, you have migration from Chicago. Stuff was hard in the South, you have migration from the South. Somalia, war, migration. The war in Vietnam, you have migration, all coming to Phillips before anywhere else.
The population of Phillips really reflects a lot of world events and is a microcosm of something so much bigger.
We look at the Franklin Avenue and we think about AIM, we think about activism and that history, but Franklin Avenue is actually a native byway, so it's like an old trail, indigenous trail. That's one of the things that we have to acknowledge is the history of this land beginning with that knowledge.
We realized that it's a very politically potent place for Native folks, and we wanted to learn more about that and make sure that was represented in this.
So this project came together, I think it was the confluence of a number of different things and the timing was right. PPL had just done a renovation project on the old Franklin Theater building, which is now their career center, and was looking for a mural for the side of the building. In the meantime, Hope Community was looking for ways to deepen our engagement process for the Power Vision mural project. And when PPL came to us with this proposal, it was a really great opportunity to do both. We were able to bring together a cohort of 7 artists, which has since then expanded to be 10. And we wanted to find people who had experience with both community engagement on the one hand and art on the other.
The process started with 3.5 months of talking to folks in the community about what they would like to see. We did one-on-ones, we did some actually going to people's houses door to door, we did community gatherings.
We identified people who have lived in Phillips for 10 years or more, trying to represent the wide diversity of this neighborhood and have conversations about what's been hard in Phillips, what's been great in Phillips, important stories from Phillips.
We were asking, what is it that keeps you in Phillips? What are the challenges that you see here? What are your future visions for Phillips and what does Phillips need?
And through all these different layers of engagement, we'd start with one idea and then that idea would adjust. And then we'd put that out to the community and then it was just an ever evolving and emerging process.
With the current design we have, it's really an amalgamation of everything that we had talked about and all the different elements that we brought in. So there may be little pieces of it that were drawn by individual artists, but it's more the whole design was part of that process.
We're just translators of these stories, and it is always going to be through our hands. We are also a lot of artists of the community too, so there's not a hard line between artists and community.
I grew up in Phillips. This is where I do my farmer's market stand. This is where my people are. This is home. Native people just get forgotten about, and we've actually been here for the beginning of time. And how do we actually represent that and It's not that we're not including other people, but we still exist and we're still here.
So we have a buffalo symbol on the far end, and that leads to Franklin Avenue. The buffalo is really significant because it represents everything that we live by. It's our relative that sustains us. And then we have the TV symbol, which is here, and that represents, housing, home. We have that as well in the reflection to acknowledge our Plains and Dakota relatives. And then on the way top, we'll have a star map, and that aligns with the Mississippi. And so we'll have all the words in Dakota and the sacred sites mapped out in stars.
Housing was another major theme that we heard. So we have some representation around some of the buildings and the housing that exists here. The tent city that was recently here in Phillips, right on the freeway. And then in the reflection of the water, teepees, to recognize the kind of multiple dimensions of housing and home and what that means.
I don't want Miss Indian USA up there. I want somebody who represents Phillips for me.
Who we put on the wall says something about who we actually believe has the power. People here have no doubt of the power they have. They keep fighting, even when there's some losses. So many people we talked to were like, well, that's what you have to do. This is what it is to live out your values and fight for what you believe in and for those you love.
We chose the sunflowers because we learned through the community conversations that in East Phillips, folks started planting sunflowers as a way to detoxify the soil that has been contaminated with arsenic and lead because of the corporations that are been here in the community. That's a very deliberate design element that we included, and that within those sunflowers there are different scenes of specific social movements.
Showing kind of the history of struggle and resistance in Phillips, community organization and resilience and fighting against things and winning battles and sometimes losing battles too, but I'm really excited for people to see that history.
We wanted to show the urgency of community standing up and showing different ways that can happen. People didn't want us to just show the rosy and the good and what's beautiful and what's possible. They said, we want you to show what we're struggling with every day. We want you to show what's really threatening our neighborhood because we need action in response to these things if we're going to protect our sacred home. And so you'll see a syringe to represent heroin addiction. You will see a crane to represent condos and development. You will see a gun because there has been gun violence.
We wanted to center resilience and resistance and communities standing together. So we have the primary figure with their hand out, wanted to represent the life and the connectedness and the power and the strength of the people here.
This group shows up with no holds barred, all the stuff that's going on in their life and all the things that folks are thinking about. And there's been times that we've really butted heads and enormous amounts of support for one another. And it's been a place where I feel like people get to be who they really are as part of this mural.
We could have definitely spent a lot more time getting to know each other. There's just this automatic love and also a willingness to work together and problem solve.
Building community, building trust and relationships with each other has been one of the most important pieces to building this mural.
It's a reflection of the community, but the hope would be it becomes almost a symbol of the community in reaching out to the greater Twin Cities metro.
We start to build kind of family or something like that together. I think everybody's so happy, and we are going to build this relationship for years and years and years. And that is because this beautiful baby.